Footage believed to show the moment the aircraft hit the ground outside of Tehran's main international airport was posted on social media. The explosion, as you can see there, lighting up the night sky. Our Foreign Affairs editor, Deborah Haynes, joins us live from central London. So, I mean, Deborah, growing speculation, certainly in the United States, that this plane was shot down.
Yes, and also Downing Street saying that it is very concerned by these reports. Yesterday, the Iranian authorities initially said that they believed a technical failure had brought that airline down, with losing the lives of 176 people. But obviously, it was lost on nobody. The extraordinary timing of that crash, coming just hours after Iran had launched that barrage of ballistic missiles against US targets in Iraq across the border. Now, the airline took off about several hours after that volley of attacks happened, but then came crashing down to ground, and there was a lot of bemusement amongst aircraft experts as to how an airline that was being flown by an experienced crew. It was a relatively new aircraft, only 3 years old, and had just passed its safe to fly test again update. Why that would suddenly have had such a catastrophic failure of a technical problem. And the Iranians have released an initial report yesterday where they said, again, sort of backing up their initial claims, that the airline had been in the process of turning round when it came down, and the pilots had not radioed to the air traffic controllers or before they went out, they lost contact. But now, like you say, reports coming from the United States, from US media, quoting US Pentagon and intelligence officials, saying that they believe actually this airline was shot down by an Iranian missile. I think we can hear from President Donald Trump himself with his reaction to this new information.
I have my suspicions. It was very, I don't want to say that because other people have those suspicions also. It's a tragic thing. When I see that, it's a tragic thing. But somebody could have made a mistake on the other side, could have made a mistake. It was flying, it was flying in, not our system, no, it has nothing to do with us. It was flying in a pretty rough neighborhood, and somebody could have made a mistake. Some people say it was mechanical. I personally don't think that's even a question, personally. So we'll see what happens.
And Deborah, I suppose there's a chance that US planes were in the sky, or at least Iran feared or thought that there were US military jets in the sky following, as it did, this attack on the bases in Iraq.
Yes, it's hard. It's difficult to get into speculation about why a surface-to-air missile would have been launched, an air defence missile would have been launched, if indeed that turns out to be what happened. Maybe actually it was just a misfire. But the timing, like I said, does show that it was an incredibly tense time for the Iranian military, given that they just launched this airstrike on their arch enemy. They would have potentially been thinking that they might have a counterattack, especially given what Donald Trump had said. But it's another iteration, potentially, of the impact of these incredibly intense hostilities between the US and Iran, if it turns out that actually this also brought down an airline too. And just one final thing to remember, it sort of harks back to MH17, that flight that crashed in Ukraine back in 2014 at a time of hostilities between the Ukrainian government-backed forces and Russia-backed rebels, where the rebels are accused of shooting down that plane by accident, thinking that it was an enemy aircraft, not a civilian airline.